Hello guys, I am fresh from my colonic today. They can really take it out of you, and I went for one today, came home and just passed out for several hours and woke up feeling really refreshed. If you're not on the colonic game, get on the colonic game because they are such a sort of energetic shift changer, especially if you're going through big transitions. I find it's really good to schedule a colonic for, I just see a little bug there. I find it's really good to schedule a colonic for times when you're going through big transitions where you're clearing out a lot, because it purges you not only physically but also energetically. And all disease starts in the gut, right? All of it starts in the colon. So the more we can clear that out, clear those passageways, the more free we are energetically to invite new things into our lives as well. So I wanted to talk today about spirit animals because I've been having this really deep initiation with the stag over the last few months, and it really has been one of those sort of initiations where there's this sort of spiritual archetypal messaging and sort of what's being mirrored back to me through that archetype within my own field, and then also having the real physical side of it as well. Often we walk with spirit animals that we would never necessarily encounter in the wild. Jaguar was my spirit animal for years and years. It was like my main totem animal, and she still walks with me, but I've had, different phases of our life call for different animals. We might be walking with different animal archetypes at different points in our lives for different reasons, and they may not be ones that we would actually encounter in the country that we live in. So it's been really beautiful to walk through with the stag and actually see the physical representation of what's happening within me, what's happening internally. And stags really represent that strong masculine archetype, and this has been a theme for me my whole life, this sort of disconnection from my masculine energy. I have a lot of very strong feminine placements in my chart. I have a Pisces stellium. I'm water, and water is a very feminine, is a feminine element. And so it's always been this sort of struggle for me, being organized, being practical, coming out of chaos energy and into structure and order, which is of course what our Saturn return is all about. So the last few years especially, it's like Saturn has just been on my back, like pushing me into more routine and structure. And I still manage that in my own sort of flowing kind of way. But it's definitely, I see all of the shifts. And since we had the last movement, I think it was May, with Saturn moving into Aries, and it will move back into Pisces, but as it has moved into Aries, I've just felt this sort of flow within me. And it's that sort of time where you're just coming out of your Saturn return and you're being asked to really implement all of the teachings that you've been experiencing and embodying over that period of time. And for me, it's been starting my business, and that was in like 2022, and really showing up and putting myself out there and acknowledging, yes, this is my pathway. Yes, I'm meant to be walking that pathway of healer. It's a limited label, really, right? But that's what I'm here to embody. That's what I'm here to share, and not doubting myself, not thinking that I'm doing the wrong thing, or just trusting in my own channel and my own flow and how I move through the world. And so when I came to Ireland, be the third time that I've been here now, but when I decided, I was like, right, I don't want to just be traveling around in my van anymore. I want to actually move into a place and settle. And since I've done that, and I've been attuning to the land here and really getting to know the energies of the land, the spirits of the land around here. And I had this thing in my head. I was like, I've never seen a stag in the wild. I want to see a stag. And I saw the first one that I saw was like a young buck stag. It was, you could tell it was young, and it was with a collection of does. It was with a collection of the female deers, and they were really far away, so I could see them, but they were really far. And I was like, oh my gosh, cannot believe that. And that was maybe like, I would say 1 or 2 weeks after I put the call out that I wanted to see this stag. And even that desire within me to see a stag, right? And I was like, I really want to see one. Like, I just want to feel what that's like. I want to see one in the flesh. Even that, right, is not just that conscious, superficial level desire to just see this animal. It's what that animal represents within me. It's what that archetype represents within me. It's like this embodied form of my own masculine energy. And so, every time we have some deep desire like that, although it may appear to be this surface level thing, there's always something deeper that our consciousness is showing us about this, and that is sort of emerging within us from that desire. Our desires are sacred. They are of the stars. They represent something within those archetypal waves that are existing within those higher planes that we are tuning into, that we call through us. And so I saw one, but it was distant. It was far away. And that is symbolic. That is symbolic in itself, that it was far. It wasn't close to me. So it was showing, it's like, okay, yeah, that thing that you want, it's over here. And you're going to have to do some work and push your way through all of these female, feminine energies in order to actualize that, in order to bring that into your reality. There was more of the feminine there, and that's also representing my energy. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then a few weeks later, I went out late, really late. It was dark. And I was like, I'm just going to go out, look at the stars. And I was walking down the hill just right next to where I live. And I felt something huge run past me, like dart past me. And I was like, oh my God, like, and I just knew it was a stag. I was like, okay, that was a fucking stag. And, logically you could say, well, it probably was a stag, because often deer are together. They're often not just on their own. Sometimes they are. But it was just a feeling. I just knew. I was like, okay, that was the stag. That was the stag. So again, it was close to me, but it was in darkness. It was hidden. It wasn't, somewhere I could properly perceive it. So then the next time that I saw one was after my Atlantis transmission. And again, it was late at night. It wasn't as dark as then, but I went for a walk and I was walking back, and it was definitely starting to get dark at this point. And I walked around the corner to where I stay, and right outside where I live, there was a deer, but it's like I just saw it running away. And again, I was like, I am pretty sure that was a stag, but it still felt elusive and not fully visible, and not like I got that really clear sort of view on it. And again, really interesting that it was just after the Atlantis transmission where I'm really stepping into that new frequency, that energy, owning everything that I am and just going for it, right? Regardless of, oh no, what if this, what if that? No, I'm just going for it. I'm doing the thing, right? So then, must have been another couple of weeks later, I was driving and I drove past a huge stag that was dead by the side of the road. And it was broad daylight, and I saw it and I was like, just, gasped. Like, it was, because it's such a huge, majestic animal, and just to see it dead by the side of the road, it was like, oh my God. But also, you know, that's my sort of conscious perception of it, but that sort of deeper knowing and understanding was like, okay, this is a death within me. This is something that's what this animal is reflecting back to me. That's why I've crossed paths with it today. It's this omen, it's this shamanic symbol of a death within me as well, because every time we step into a new version of us, part of us has to die, and that's often the most uncomfortable part. And so then again, this is another couple of weeks later. So I had a friend, an old friend who we've been friends since we were 5 years old, come to visit me in Ireland, and we went to Galway city, which is about an hour's drive from where I am. And we had this really beautiful time. But sometimes when I'm in crowds like that, it's taken me a long time to master my energy within crowded spaces, because I just find it so overwhelming, which is why I used to just take drugs all the time, and I couldn't handle my gifts. I couldn't handle feeling so much and seeing so much. So I every time I have these experiences where I go into these sort of busy places now, it's always this challenge for me, and it's also this opportunity to see how I've grown. And so I did have this moment where I sort of lapsed into this sort of like fear and just like overwhelm, and this sort of, you know, feeling of not feeling comfortable. And I started to get this sort of headache, and I just had to take a moment where I just tuned into myself, and I was like, wait a freaking minute. I was like, there's all these codes that want to come through. That's why I've got this headache. And if you're someone who's a channel, you'll know that as well. It's like we get this fucking head pressure when there's stuff that wants to come through. And that's been, again, a theme all my life. Migraines, head pressure when channels want to come through. And so I then was able to just bring through all of this light language subtly, because my friend isn't into that kind of thing. So did it in my own way, not obvious, but and I could feel all of these crystalline grids anchoring all around me, and I just felt such a deep sense of love and honor for being on the planet at this time, and just what an absolute blessing and privilege that is. And just my heart was just overflowing with love. And although it was like a Friday night, and there's people drinking and doing all this stuff, and I'm completely sober, just just fully embodying who I am, and it felt so good. It felt so good. And also what I could see was where little things of where actually I'm calling in more for me in my life, and calling in more community and more support and people that can see and hold me and feel me in all that I am, right? So it was this beautiful thing of, look how far you've come, and also, oh, these are the next steps. How exciting is that? So we drove back. I drove us there, drove us back. And just as we were coming up the hill to where the exact little bit where I stay, I saw it. I saw the stag, and it was standing right outside my sort of cabin that I live in, right? It was right outside, huge antlers, and I've coming up the hill, and it's like, obviously it's dark, the lights from the van are just illuminating this stag, and it was just looked like it was just staring right at me. And I just put on the brakes, and I just stared back at it like, I can't fucking believe this has happened. Like, finally I've seen the stag. And then it just ran away. And I just sat there, me and my friend were just in silence, just like, what even was that? It was like this glorious moment, and it felt like everything was just coming, like this total full circle moment. This, like the stag just saying, look, this this is the initiation, like, hello, like, you've seen me now, I'm here, I'm right here. So that piece, right? And this was just the other night, okay? So I sort of felt like, you know, something had been completed, but it still felt like it's this kind of omen energy, like it still feels like things are unfolding with this majestic being. And the other night, I was just sitting, chilling out, and something just crashed into the side of where I stay. Okay, and it's not like a proper house, it's more like a sort of mobile home cabin thing, right? So the walls aren't like thick and it felt like it shook the whole. I don't think it actually shook the foundations of the structure, but it felt like it did. And it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I live in the middle of nowhere. It was like the whole thing just felt like it shook, and I was like, oh my god, what the fuck was that? And I phoned my friend because I was like, I was a little bit scared because I just wasn't sure what it was. But once I'd calmed down, I was like, oh my god, it was the stag. It was the stag. And I have no proof other than psychic perception, but I feel like it's saying, like, something has collided, something has connected, boom, with a loud bang, but it isn't quite finished. It feels like it's heralding the beginning of something else. So, which I'm not sure exactly what that is. This literally happened like 3 or 4 nights ago. So, yes, it's very, very interesting. So that's my story of the stag, and I just love the way that our consciousness weaves these archetypes, and it's in this perfect divine synchronization and perfect order with nature. I just think, wow, what a gift. What a gift. And oh, it's interesting as well, just one last thing before I go. I'm just remembering I'd actually forgotten this. When I had seen all of the deer with the stag, with the young stag that time, they bridged in all of these codes around Atlantis for me. So I do get the sense that Atlantis and that deers, they hold a particular frequency, or they're sort of wisdom keepers from Atlantean times, which makes a lot of sense. And if you think about Atlantis being really in tune with that sort of masculine frequency and that sort of representation or symbolism of masculine archetypes, and the stag being a really sort of prominent initiatory symbol within mystery tradition. So yeah, there's a whole thread that is running through all of this. And also with the doe, I always get Venus so strong, and that's happened for years as well when I've seen female deer, that there's this deep connection with those feminine Venusian rights. So yeah, the deer as an archetype, as an animal, is deeply cosmic. And I have also seen galactic beings that resemble deer, that sort of stand upright, that exist in different forms across the cosmos. So yeah, there's a lot to them. There's a lot of beauty and deep, profound wisdom that exists within them. So I'd love to hear if you have had any experiences with deer, and if they have bridged in anything for you, or let me know what type of spirit animal is coming forward really strongly for you now as well. And sending lots of love. Goodbye.